Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Monday, November, what is it, 20th here. Monday, November 20th. It is Thanksgiving week. Can't believe Thanksgiving is here already, but here we are. Keith, before we get into all the NBA news and notes that we need to discuss for today, what is the one Thanksgiving dish that you cannot do without? Like if you were to say, hey, I'm going to eliminate everything else from Thanksgiving, but this one food item, what is that one thing for you?
I'm going to cheat a little bit here. It's the post-Thanksgiving turkey sandwiches. Like
Oh,
that's my favorite part of the food. I like, don't get me wrong, I like Thanksgiving. I like everything, but those post-Thanksgiving turkey sandwiches, if you kind of, for me, I throw a little stuffing on there, maybe a little bit of cranberry sauce, but it's a mayo
is
on the bread, little
that
gravy.
is kind of true because now you're talking about you're putting other Thanksgiving food items on the turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah, I
getting like,
cheated.
yeah, that is that. See, I thought you were saying you were cheating just because you were picking something that's technically after Thanksgiving. No,
Yeah.
it's
I
because
cheated
you're
with all
saying
of it.
your
Yeah.
favorite Thanksgiving item is all of it. You're wishing for more wishes here, Keith.
Look, if you go in and you start paying players on a college team, you might as well pay a whole bunch of players because you're going to get the banner stripped anyway. So you might as well pay all of them. Flags fly forever, even if they take them down. Come on now. So if I'm going in on cheating, all right. If you're gonna make me pick one thing, it's it's funny because she's gonna get mad because I just told her you don't have to make it if you don't want to. But my wife makes this amazing corn casserole
And
thing,
just to
and it's
clarify, she
really
is
good.
in the room with you right
Yes,
now, correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. She is working away right now, doing real actual work while we do what we do. What's yours? What's your
So
one item?
so corn casserole. I'm still trying to get past the flags fly forever, even if they take them down
Yeah,
line. I don't know. That doesn't sound true.
yeah, it is. Nobody at Michigan when they took their Final Four banners down is like, well, we didn't really make those Final Fours anymore. Yeah, they did. They were still there. USC still won titles. No one cares that Reggie Bush had his Heisman taken away and melted down or whatever happened to it. I don't know. So come on,
But the banner itself is not flying.
yeah, it's flying in my heart.
Okay. We're getting deep here. My favorite, and this is a true tragedy because no one else in my family likes it. It's pumpkin pie.
Wow.
I'm a big pumpkin pie fan. That is my favorite of all the Thanksgiving food items. And I went and I bought myself a pumpkin pie, knowing that no one else would eat it. But I said, you know what? I'm not having Thanksgiving without a pumpkin pie. So I have one to myself. I know there's no way I'm going to eat the whole thing, but I said if it's between not having pumpkin pie and unfortunately having to throw some of it out because literally no one else will eat it, I'm going to throw some of it out and get myself some pumpkin pie.
I'm now picturing you like in front of the TV at like 2 a.m. with just an empty pie tin and crumbs
Yep.
everywhere, and you're just kind of sitting there, just half picking at what's left of a pumpkin
True.
pie.
Trying to get through Loki. Yes, yes. Now I'll tell you the positive though is pie etiquette is out the window. I don't
See,
have to. I don't
yeah,
have to worry about that. I can eat that pie however it is that I want. I can just go at it with a fork, right? I can eat from the middle if I wanted to. No problem. I don't have to cut it perfectly and all that kind of stuff. So there
eating
is
from the
some
middle
upside.
is key. I don't like pie. Like I'll say this. I don't like pie crust. So that's like a problem
Oh
for me with pie. It's
well,
always
yeah.
too dry and like flaky and crumbly. Like just not a big fan of pie crust. So like I will eat like pie, but I don't really enjoy pie crust. So that becomes a whole thing for me. But yeah. People are like, wait, I thought this was a basketball show, and these guys
At
haven't
some
even
point,
mentioned it yet. So,
at some point
but
we'll
yeah,
get
it's
there.
Thanksgiving week, guys. Come on now. Of course, we're going to work in a little bit of turkey talk here.
We gotta. In fact, maybe tomorrow I'll do some turkey fun facts or something. But
Nice.
as you say, we do need to be responsible adults and get into some basketball here. So let's start with this. One of the, I guess I don't know, Keith. I see this kind of stuff and I just kind of roll my eyes. Zach LaVine and the Bulls PR situation where a member of the Bulls PR staff went to go grab Zach LaVine to have him do an interview, and this is very common around. They literally grab the player, right? Because once the game is over, once the game's over, there's so many different things going around. It's very easy for a player, particularly when the players are so much taller than the PR staff typically is, for them not to see somebody or whatever and wind up, next thing you know, they're running to the back and you've missed the chance to do the interview. So Bulls PR staff goes and grabs Zach LaVine by the arm to say, hey, come do this interview. And he kind of yanks his arm away. The Bulls were, not thrilled with that, especially now that we've heard these kind of rumblings of Zach LaVine trade rumors and the team's been kind of struggling and all that sort of stuff. I still look at this though and say, well, unless we have some kind of follow-up to this where it happens again or something, I think this is going to be a nothing in a week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think anyone's going to really care about this very quickly here. I know Billy Donovan was reportedly not too happy with it. There was somebody had tweeted out and shared that the Bulls front office wasn't very happy with him. And to be clear, he just made a big shot to basically win them a game. Which they much needed to win a game because they had really been struggling. And I mean, I get it. And I saw when I first saw it, let me rephrase. When I first saw the report about it, it said he pushed away the PR people. And I don't know that he knew who it was when he initially
exactly.
It was just kind of like one of these, don't grab me kind of thing. And then I don't know if he then realized who it was. And he's like, nah, I still don't want to talk, and took off. Or because I've seen players do that because sometimes they think somebody's just grabbing them, especially where he was right on the edge of the court where a fan could have very easily grabbed at him. And just as an aside, if you're at a game, don't grab at the players.
No,
there's just no need for that. The kids who get the shoes and the jerseys and all that stuff, or the kids who are polite and are like, "Can I have your shoes, please?" or something like that. Those are the ones the players almost always take care of, instead of the ones who are grabbing at them and jabbing stuff in their faces to sign and everything else. They're usually better with those guys. But yeah, so I don't know. My guess is no one really cares about this in another couple of days. But maybe from LaVine's side, he's like, look, I don't want to get back into all of it again. You could tell he's aggravated with the questions already. Yeah. And this is what happens when there's a trade request. Let me rephrase, because we don't know there's a trade request.
Right.
And there's a trade rumor out there. Every city they go into, they're going to get asked about it because it's that city's media's chance to talk to him, where they maybe haven't had that opportunity in the past. So that's a little bit of a challenge with that part of it. So I'm sure he's just a little on edge right now, and they're all collectively aggravated because the team's not playing well and trade rumors are swirling and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I think it's much ado about nothing for now. Now, again, if this becomes something that happens again, or he refuses to talk to do the interview or something, okay, then there's something here. Yeah, if another rumor pops up, we find out, oh, he was upset because now he's connected to this other team or something. Then this becomes an important piece of context to a developing story. For now, though, I'm just going to kind of take it for what it is. Say it was just kind of one weird thing, and he didn't see who it was, and and we move on.
Yep.
By the way, and Zach LaVine himself did say that it was just a miscommunication with the PR team and that everything's fine. So
yeah, I don't think it's going to be a thing, no. But yeah, I hear you.
Okay, let's get to this one. And Keith, you came up with this headline here. LeBron is old. LeBron James, he said after the game last night against the Rockets, LeBron said that it's him against Father Time, that playing against some of the younger players, guys like Dylan the Villain Brooks, gets him fired up, gets him going, playing against the young guys. LeBron is old. He is indeed the oldest player in the NBA, and he dropped 37 last night. He's doing some incredible things. I'm a little concerned about how heavily the Lakers are leaning upon him, but yeah, there's no question. He's turning 39 next month. He's old, and we've never seen this, Keith. We've never seen anybody at his age play at this level. We've seen people play to this age before. We've never seen anybody play at this level, at this age.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this. My buddy Josh Eberly put this on Twitter today. Some quick notes about LeBron scoring this season, and we'll put all the small sample size qualifiers and everything with this, but he's averaging more points per game. LeBron is averaging 26.4 points per game than every other player who played 21 seasons did combined. So that's Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, Vince Carter, Kevin Willis, and Robert Parrish, they combined to average 21.4 points. Also, LeBron has the highest true shooting percentage of his career at 67.1%. None of it makes sense. Like, it does not make sense. And my biggest takeaway, not jokingly, I said LeBron is old because he basically said, yeah, I'm old. Like, he was more or less the tenor of his press conference. I also, as an aside, I liked his joke about how the guys keep giving him crap because he keeps laying the ball in. So he went up and threw down that dunk just to be like, I can still do it.
I can still do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like it sounds weird to say this, but I feel like we don't appreciate this enough. And these are the kind of things that we're going to be, I don't know when at this point, but at some point we're going to be like, man, I wish I had kind of appreciated those last few years of LeBron a little more because then he was just gone. And it is unbelievable, the things he's doing. I mean, it's not at all it's obviously, of course, they don't win the game without him last night, but they're not like he truly won that game. Other guys played well. Some other guys stepped up and in various ways, but he was just unbelievable last night. And that was one of those, no, he can't do it every night anymore, but that was one of those, we need to win and I'm not going to be stopped. And he can still bring it, which is at this point in his career, that's unbelievable.
His 3-point shot has definitely been dropping with a lot more consistency. He said that he was able to work on it more over the summer than he has in the past. So, I mean, it's showing. I don't know how sustainable it is right now. Again, like you said, we are still in small sample size territory, but for right now, he's doing some absolutely incredible things out there. How about though? This is a guy we don't talk about much, Jeff Green. How about what he's doing? He's 37. And he's doing some incredible stuff. I've got a running gag when the Lakers play the Rockets on over on playback on the play-by-play. Every time Jeff Green does something, he gets older. His age that he's at, he starts out at 37, and by the end of the show, he's like, 75-year-old Jeff Green just hit a three, and he's absolutely fantastic. He's fulfilling a great role for the Rockets. He's given them that that adult in the room while still providing something on the floor. Pretty amazing considering that this was a guy who was drafted by the Sonics. They existed when Jeff Green was drafted.
And let's go back. Jeff Green missed an entire year because of a heart issue.
Yeah.
Like missed an entire season when it looked like in the prime of his career was just over. Like it looked like that was it. He's just not going to play anymore. And he's come back to not only play, but play like a full, it's got to be a decade now past when that happened. I could look it up here in a little bit. I'd be interested if someone would ask LeBron. And I know he's probably not going to want to speak for Bronny, but like, does that give him hope that Bronny will be able to get his career fully back on track and everything that Jeff Green went through? I know it wasn't the same thing, but a similar heart condition, and has then played a very, very long NBA career. And it's not, Jeff Green's not just hanging out at the end of the bench either. He's still playing, and he has basically played all the way through. Like there's been very few points where it's been like, yeah, Jeff Green's just kind of on the roster as that old vet in the locker room helping out. Like he's always been a productive member. He's a big part of Denver winning the championship last year. So I'd be curious to know if anybody's asked LeBron that question. I haven't seen anything about it out there yet. So that'd be something I'd like to see a media member ask him about, just because LeBron and Jeff Green have been semi-linked throughout their careers just because of the length of career that they've both had.
Sure. Yeah, Jeff Green, I just looked it up here, had open heart surgery that involves stopping his heart for an hour. Yeah. And that happened January 9th of 2012.
Yep. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. So that was 11 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Almost 12 full years ago, right? Because you said January 9th.
Yeah. Of 2012.
Yeah. So that's almost 12 years ago. And then came back and has played for 12, like whatever that works out to 11, 12 more seasons after that. That's just, that doesn't make sense either. But yeah, I mean, Kevin Durant was great last night. Kevin Durant also is old. Like just some of these guys, the things they are doing at this point, and you're seeing, this is the difference between the guys you and I grew up with. Larry Bird was done after 12 seasons because he couldn't really walk anymore. Magic, obviously, his career went very differently, but his career, ended earlier than I think anybody thought it would. Kareem was like this extreme outlier to the point it was like a running joke with him. And then Robert Parrish kind of took on the mantle from Kareem after that. So it was always like one or two guys. But now we have all these guys. Chris Paul still playing and playing at a high level at this point in his career. It just shows the advancements and the willingness for these players from the time they're like 16, 17 years old to start putting in that effort and taking care of themselves, to do those things. And even still, among all those guys, LeBron stands out as a major outlier because of the level he is playing at. He's not a role player, which I know KD is not either, but he's several years younger than LeBron. But like all these other guys, they're role players, and LeBron is, still here doing it as the prime star on a team.
It's unreal. It really is. It's truly unbelievable. All right. Another one of our blunt titles here. The Pistons are terrible.
Yep.
The Pistons are not, they're not good at basketball. This is a team that wanted to be, on the rise and all of that in the Eastern Conference this season. Right now, they sit dead last with just 2 wins and 12 losses. They have the worst record in the NBA. Minus 6.6 points per game is their point differential. Keith, what is going on in Detroit? Cade Cunningham not too thrilled with the way things are going right now.
Yeah, no, nor is Monty Williams. Monty Williams was asked, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but does this team have a culture of losing now? Do they have losing habits? And he said, I can't say that. My job is to teach and help guys break habits they've had for a while. I can't speak to what's happened in the past, but when you see it, you call it out and help guys grow. And then he said, the habits are something we've talked about since the summertime and we'll continue to talk about until it changes. And we started to see he's made some lineup changes here and there. Guys have kind of come and gone from the rotation. Some of them have earned their way back in, but he is really committed to these guys got to play better. And then Cade Cunningham follows that up with, let me find his quote. He said, we got to be realistic about the situation. It's hard to be like, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Because we're bad. We have to address that. We have to address what we're not good at, address it with not only our words, but on the court in the huddles. And then he went on, he was asked, like, does the team not compete the right way? And he was asked about their compete level. And he said, it's unacceptable. We're the youngest team in the league, scrapping and clawing for everything. That should be the last thing that needs to be asked of us or talked about, how hard we're competing. That should be a given. When we wake up in the morning, we should be like, we got to get to the court. Monty Williams shouldn't have to ask about it. That's something me and Isaiah Stewart are also trying to stay vocal about. Everyone has to come with it. So not great, right? None of that is good. That is basically Monty Williams saying, look, I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, there's a lot of bad habits here. And then you have your team's leader, burgeoning star, basically saying, hey, we don't play hard enough. And in case it didn't come across like reading those quotes, he very much was including himself in that. He was not excluding himself from criticism or anything like that. He was putting himself in there. The only guy, because there was another smaller quote where he called out, like, Isaiah Stewart brings it every day, which if you watch him play, he obviously does. But a lot of the other guys. Now, let's be a little fair. They don't have Bojan Bogdanovic. They don't have Monte Morris. They don't have some of the guys they thought were going to be their guys to really help kind of guide them through this. But that said, there's no real excuse for how poorly they're playing. I mean, they're getting drilled in some of these games. And it just, I don't know, man. I wanted to see them take real steps forward, even if I still thought they'd be a bad team. And I don't know if maybe outside of the Charlotte Hornets, there's a team that has a less bright future right now than the Detroit Pistons.
Keith, they were 2-1 on Saturday, October 28th. They have not won since.
Yep.
So we are going on almost a month without a win, and their next opponent is Denver. After that is Indiana, who I think has been pretty good this season. Obviously they're going to be a heavy underdog in both those. Then maybe an opening here. They play the Wizards, who in terms of offensive rating and defensive rating, they're within one spot of each other in both categories.
Yeah.
If I'm Detroit, I'm putting everything into that game. If you want to win one, that game against the Wizards is probably your best shot, because Washington ranked in terms of advanced analytics, they're just as bad as the Detroit Pistons. That's their shot to win a game, because they have lost. Look, losing to OKC, you get it, but they got beat by 9 by Portland. I mean, there's some tough, the Pelicans, the Suns, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Sixers. I mean, you're probably, even if you play at your best, you're probably not winning those games. But then you've also dropped a game to Chicago. That was maybe an opportunity to get a win. They haven't had the easiest schedule, but still, this team's not been good. And I think there's 2 more losses coming before they maybe have a little opening here to win a game. So it's really going to be a full month of just losing for the Pistons.
Yeah, and that's just brutal, right? Like
Yeah.
it's again, we're not criticizing them for being a not good team, but this is bad, feels bad without like purpose.
Yeah.
Right. It's one thing to lose games. It's a whole other thing to be just terrible. And it's a whole other thing to be this bad before we're even at Thanksgiving. And you feel like, well, all right, who's in the draft, right? If you're a Pistons fan, you're already probably tuning in to like the college basketball tournaments this week, where they're on all day. Like, all right, who am I checking out as a potential high draft pick? What's going on overseas? What do these G League guys look like? Because it's this big of a mess. I put this out on Twitter last night. I don't know if you saw this, but do you know when the last time the Pistons won a playoff game was? A game, not a series, but a game.
I mean, the way you're phrasing it makes me think we're going all the way back to 2004 or something.
2008, game 4, 2008 Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics.
Okay, so that was not a sweep. I thought they had gotten swept a few times in there. All right.
They lost that one, and then that was like that was the
because
series.
What am I saying? They made it back to the finals the next year when they took on the Spurs. No, in 2005. I mean,
2005.
When I said 2005, I was forgetting 2005. They went back, so they obviously won there. But 2008, man, that's still a long time.
Yeah, 15 years ago, 16 years ago by the time we get to this year's playoffs. The last time they won a playoff game. They've made it to the playoffs 3 times since then, but they've been swept 4-0 in each one of those series. They've had losing records in 13 of the last 15 years. And in one of those years, they were 500. They were 41-41. So they've had a winning record once in 15 seasons. That's
brutal.
Gives us a sense of where it's been. I mean, we all kind of laughed about the Kings for, decade plus of, playoff futility. But I mean, and this is tough. I mean, the Pistons, for our lifetime as fans, they were a powerhouse for most of our
Isaiah Thomas days. Yeah.
They were big time. And then I know they kind of dipped, but then they came back with the Billups, Hamilton, Wallace brothers teams, Tayshaun Prince, like those teams were really good. I mean, they won a championship, and those teams were really, really good. So it was, it's crazy to me that this is as bad as the Kings were, if we get into it. So pretty tough on them right now for the Pistons.
All right. Shaq Vegas. Shaq wants to bring a team to Las Vegas and has now said that he is willing to combine forces with LeBron. For a while there, it sounded like it was going to be like 2 competing bids. We know LeBron wants to bring a team to Vegas. Shaq would like to as well. Now it sounds like he's saying, hey, I'll be part of this. Really wants to get a team. I think Vegas makes a lot of sense. It's where the in-season tournament is going to be having their finals this year. It's where Summer League exists. The NBA already has that relationship with Vegas. So we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point that Vegas makes sense as a destination, but it feels like the momentum, it just keeps picking up speed here for a team to wind up in Vegas. LeBron is definitely in on it, especially because LeBron could still live in LA and travel to Vegas pretty easily. Shaq now being involved. And I think if you're Shaq and LeBron's interested in bringing a team somewhere, it makes sense for him to say, I'll team up with you, because he's going to have a hard time, I think, beating the LeBron-led team. That's going to have a lot of momentum and a lot of interest from the league, having LeBron involved with it. So makes sense for Shaq to say, yep, I'll jump on that train with you and let's go.
Yeah, the whole thing, and you can see the quotes. There's a post on Real GM's Wiretap, which is invaluable. We use it considerable amount as we prep for the show. I'm on there. Well, one of the things this came out of Shaq, and I think it was David Beckham co-hosted an F1 party where they had the F1 race in Vegas, this weekend, which sounds like it was basically hated by every single person who ever wanted anything to do with going to Las Vegas. I actually had a friend who went out there for a conference, and all she's ever wanted to do was see the Bellagio fountains, and they've been off for months as they built grandstands in front of the hotel. So she was pretty bummed out about that. But anyway, Shaq talked about that. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause, and I'm like, I don't know about this. He says he wants to be actively involved in, decision making with the team. He's like, you have part owners that are just like part owners and just kind of there. And then you have part owners that are involved. I want to be one of those part owners that's involved.
Goodbye TNT then?
I guess. I mean,
right? Because I mean, if Shaq is actively involved in decision making, you can't go on TV and start talking about other players.
Grant Hill owns part of the Hawks, right? And he still does stuff. I don't really know how all that works, but I also trust Grant Hill to manage himself maybe a little more appropriate than Shaq does. Grant Hill's also now he's the managing director or whatever basketball.
Yeah.
So he's clearly, keeping tabs on all these guys. I mean, it worries me when Shaq says these kind of things. Like, I want to be involved, because at what level? Because I don't see you going and scouting a mid-major conference tournament in March, my guy. Like, I just don't see that happening ahead of the NBA draft to see who you might select with your second round pick. I could see it being like, yeah, we should go get I don't know, superstar X. Like, yeah, we should do that. Like, I could see that, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold on him being involved with the basketball operations portion of it, but I don't know, maybe. I have these visions of them playing real life who he play for with him, and him being like, I have no idea. I don't even know who that guy is. That's
I wasn't familiar with his game.
Right. Yeah. That's probably a problem if you're running a team, but that's neither here nor there. We'll see where it goes.
All right, some good news. Scoot Henderson, Malcolm Brogdon, both on the mend here. Sounds like they'll be back sooner rather than later.
Portland needs them.
Yeah, I mean, Portland. Well, I mean, Portland. On one hand, yes, they need to be out there for at least Scoot out there for the development purposes, and then Malcolm Brogdon in order to get some trade interest for the Blazers. So they need to be out there for those reasons. For winning games, I don't know so much if Portland's worried about that right now, but. Yes, they need Scoot out there developing and seeing what works with these guys and what doesn't, and to learn what the future of the Blazers is going to look like. And then for Malcolm Brogdon, I would be very surprised if he's a Portland Trailblazer past the trade deadline, assuming that he can, get back to being healthy and then stay healthy, which is no certainty with him. But if he can, I would have to imagine that he's traded. So it's important that he gets back out onto the floor, shows everybody what he can do again, shows everybody he's okay, and then sometime in the next few months he'll be moved.
Yeah, this was the only way Malcolm Brogdon was probably going to stick there beyond the trade deadline, was if they were like one of those surprise teams, or was like, wow, Portland's hanging in the race for the play-in tournament or something like that. That's clearly not going to be a thing. So yeah, it's about for him. Let's get him out there, show he's healthy, he's ready to go, and maybe move him on and trade. And you're absolutely right with Scoot Henderson. Let's get him out there with Shaedon Sharpe, with DeAndre Ayton, with Anthony Simons when he eventually returns. Let's get these guys on the court so we can at least get a sense of, all right, how do they all fit together? What does this look like going forward? So it's just good news. We normally come with a bunch of injury news that's just guys out. Here's a couple guys who are coming back. And part of the reason I said Portland needs them, it's one thing, again, to be bad. But they've lost 7 straight games now. They were actually 3-3. When all the injuries really started hitting them, and they've lost 7 in a row. They're 3-10. Them, Memphis, and San Antonio are all tied for the worst records in the West. Spurs are actually on an 8-game losing streak right now. So we talked about the Pistons in their 11-game losing streak. Do you know who has the next highest though? It's Pistons at 11 straight losses, Spurs at 8, Trailblazers at 7. Do you know who's next? Without looking.
The Clippers just won because they were at 6 losses in a row. I don't know. Who is it?
Right, vein of thinking, though.
Is it who's been losing a lot? I don't know.
The Golden State Warriors.
Is it really the Warriors?
Yeah. Yep.
They were a team that popped into my head. Yeah, man.
6 and
What
8.
is going on in Golden State?
Remember last year when they couldn't win away from
On the
home?
road? Yeah.
They're 1-6 at home and 5-2 on the road. Easily the weirdest like split in the league, differential wise. So
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Suns 2-4 at home, 5-2 away. So weird. Suns though on their way up. They've won 3 straight.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish off with this though. Marcus Smart out 3 to 5 weeks for the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, who are still struggling. They've won 3 games now, though. They're 3-10 at this point. Keith, they somehow wound up within a bucket of the Celtics last night. What the hell happened? I didn't see this game.
Yeah, at one point, Joe Mazzulla benched Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis all at the same time because they weren't playing hard enough. So that gives you a sense of kind of what was happening. He said, I took them all out because the effort wasn't where it needed to be. And he was playing with like Derek White, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, and then he had like other, like he mixed in Nemias Queta was out there for a little while. Lamar Stevens got a little bit of run with that group. So he was really kind of mixing and matching guys. So yeah, it was just one of those games where I think, the Celtics are in a little bit of a weird spot. They've been kind of rolling and really kind of handling teams. And then you get into these spots. They had a back-to-back away against Memphis, and now they're going to Charlotte tonight, and they play the Bucks on Wednesday. So I think it's probably a little bit of let's just get to Wednesday's game, and then we can go. And then Friday afternoon, they play Orlando, who's playing really good basketball right now in an in-season tournament game. And if the Celtics win, they probably will win the group, most likely in the in-season tournament. So that's kind of a big game too. So you've got those 2 games with 2 not great teams, and I can see why they weren't as focused as they need to be, didn't play as hard. But Kristaps Porzingis came back in and kind of played like a man possessed down the stretch, made a bunch of plays. I think he had 6 blocks last night, including blocked what would be the tying jumper. There was the Celtics did a better job keeping the ball out of Desmond Bane's hands at a point. Santi Aldama was on fire, absolutely dominated. But back to Marcus Smart. This team has one healthy point guard. That's Jacob Gilyard, who is exactly the same height as me, and he's on a 2-way contract. I'm hopeful and very confident in saying same height as me, far better player than I am. The NBA. But he's really not bad. He's just very, very small. But he's the only healthy point guard that they have because Derrick Rose can't really play night to night anymore. John Morant obviously suspended, and now Marcus Smart is out 3 to 5 weeks. It's sprained left foot for Marcus Smart, so it's going to be a while. So the Grizzlies, they are going through it. It is. We are very, very close. I said this just the other day. To the wheels have come off on this season. Just forget it. Let's just play it out and hope for the best when John Morant gets back, because it's really, really tough for them right now. Because it's not just Smart and Morant who's out. Brandon Clark is out. Steven Adams is out. They're both out for the year. You also have Xavier Tillman's out. Luke Kennard is out. They like I said, Derrick Rose is kind of in and out of the lineup. So it's just a mess right now in Memphis.
Is their draft pick unencumbered this year?
It is, I believe. I can check that.
I'm just looking. They started last night against the Celtics. They didn't start a point guard. They started bigs. They started Bane and Conchar and Aldama, Biyombo and Jaren Jackson Jr. Aldama was great. 28 points, 12 boards, 6 assists, 2 steals. That's insane production from him. But they didn't have a point guard. They had Gilyard, and that's it. He only played 15 minutes. So they're basically playing without a point guard right now. Their offensive rating is in the tank. Yeah, their offensive rating is in the tank. They're in a tough spot. By the time John Morant gets back, yikes.
Yeah. So we've got 13. We're only halfway through his suspension. Still out 13 more games. Because I think they're 3-9, right? So yeah. So
here's their schedule.
Oh, they're 3-10. I'm sorry. They've got 12 more games left.
12 more games. Okay. So
and just to answer your question, yes, they have a weird pick where they have the most favorable pick of them and Phoenix and Washington 1 through 12, because they were one of the teams that got in on that, where Phoenix was trying to create swaps for second rounders to have something to trade.
Mhm.
Memphis has a couple of those, but they've got all their own first round picks effectively, or the best pick possible of a couple of teams the rest of the way.
Okay, so this is the teams they play
Okay.
when Ja comes
So
before
let's
Ja
go
comes
through.
back.
We'll do wins or losses on each game.
Yeah, okay. So we've got the next game is at Houston. I think
That'd be a
Houston's been
loss.
playing pretty well. That's a loss in my mind. Phoenix, loss. Minnesota, the top seeded team in the West right now. That's a loss.
Yes. Yeah.
Utah,
Where is it?
it is at home, and they have 2 days off before that game. I'm going to say
We'll
they
give
get a
them
win in that one.
there. Yeah. We'll
Okay,
give them
so
a win
there's a win.
there. Yeah.
At Dallas, loss. Second night of a back-to-back at Phoenix,
The loss.
loss. Against Dallas, that's at home, but against Dallas, that's a loss. At Houston again, you have 2 in a row at Houston and then at home against Houston.
We're going to get into the week off here. We won't know a couple of their games. Right?
Oh, right. Yes, that's right.
So,
There is the week off. That's what's happening here.
Yeah.
But
okay. Yeah. I mean, all right. So let's say they've got 12 games left. Eyeballing.
And some of those games are unknown.
Let's say 4 and 8, maybe. Feels probably close. I mean, that's more games than they've won right now.
And you might be kind of generous with 4 and 8, just given the schedule. Like, and look, we can look and we'll say Team X is better than them or whatever. And
sure,
the upsets happen, right? They do. You can't.
And somebody will be missing someone, or they'll sit guys, and they'll
right. So
they'll
much
like they did almost Boston last night.
Yeah. Des Bane will shoot 7 for 12 from 3 or something, and they'll get a win, and that kind of stuff will happen in there. But yeah, I mean, they could very well be sitting in total somewhere between like 6 and 7 wins or something out of 25 games when Ja Morant comes back. And at that point, do you have enough time left in the season even to make up that kind of ground? I don't know.
Yeah, that gets tough. So what I said repeatedly when people asked, as I said, you don't want to be something like 5 and 20. That's maybe a realistic marker where they really could be 5 and 20. That would be, obviously that'd be what, 2 and 10 over the final 12 games of Ja's suspension. And part of the reason I picked 5 and 20, Orlando was 5 and 20 last year. And then Orlando played great in the second half, final 2/3 of the season. They played really good, inspired basketball and almost made the playing tournament. They made a real run and then kind of fell apart a little bit, reprioritized at the very end of the year over the last about 3 weeks of the season. So if you're Memphis, yeah, you can do it. I mean, no one's run away from them in the West right now, right? They're 3 and 10, but Golden State's in 10th, and they're only 2.5 games ahead of them. So they've been lucky that the West teams they really kind of beat up on each other, and they're all outside of a couple at the top, they're all floating right around 500. So that's to their benefit. But yeah, I mean, ideally over these last 12 games, you'd love to pull off 6 and 6 or better, but go 4 and 8, and then maybe, right? Then we'll see. Maybe that keeps you in range of, where you can still make a real run at the play-in tournament. And they could be a team. I know we all like to say this. They could be a team nobody wants to see if they're a lower seed, just because you're going to have Ja Morant, you're going to have Desmond. You're going to be looking at it and being like, yeah, they shouldn't have been, down in the 7-8 seed range, but here we are. Now we get to deal with it in the first round.
And if they do continue to struggle with that draft pick, that could wind up being a blessing in disguise, because this team feels like they're one, even when they're healthy, they're probably one player short. That could be big if they're able to get a really high draft pick in this year's draft, and then either use it to pick somebody or, have that as a trade chip. So, well, not good right now in Memphis. Tough sledding for the moment, but Ja is coming back. Eventually, will it be too little too late at that point? We'll have to wait and see. But again, they have a shot to, like you said, make that run and be maybe that proverbial team nobody wants to see. There's also a chance that they could walk out of this with a really nice draft pick. And then, we go too far with the San Antonio Spurs tanking and getting Tim Duncan and tanking and getting Wembanyama and all that kind of stuff. But you could wind up where it's like that one kind of blip down year, and the next thing you know, they're a power again in the next season.
Yeah, and this draft class doesn't seem like it's great. It seems like it's kind of a draft that's stuck in between. We had Wembanyama this past year. We're going to have Cooper Flag in 2025. 2024 seems a little with this, but it will be better by the time we get there. I think of just a couple years ago, the 2022 draft had the people weren't super high on it going in either, and then a bunch of guys emerged and ended up becoming players where it's like, all right, these guys are pretty good. So guys will emerge, guys will step up, and that's what I'm going to go do. I'm going to go actually watch some college basketball. The Maui Invitational is on. If you're a fan of this, you're probably an NBA fan. That field is loaded, and at 5 Eastern, so just a couple hours from now, we got Purdue and Gonzaga going head-to-head, two of the better teams in the country right now, with some actual NBA prospects on the roster. So it should be fun. So it's always fun to work in a little afternoon college hoops before the NBA starts up.
All right. Well, that sounds like a plan for you. I'm going to spend my afternoon. Well, I'm going to edit this, and then I've got a few other things to dive into, but I'll see if I can maybe put that one on in the background. I have family visiting right now, so it's hard to get to put on what I want, but nonetheless, I'll do my best to see if I can catch some of it at least.
Record it and watch it while you eat your pumpkin pie at 2 a.m.
There we go, by myself. Yep. That's what I'm going to have to do.
That's how you bring the show full circle, baby.
There it is. And that, folks, is how you close out a show. We do thank you guys for joining us. Make sure that you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show here on YouTube. Of course, over on the podcast side as well, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow. Till then, see ya and stay safe.